I love when fellowship hour starts before church. It's always a good sign. Strong community building. Welcome to the Elliott Church of Natick. I'm Ned Parker. I'm your sabbatical pastor during Adam's sabbatical. It's great to have you all with us this morning, whether you're here in person or joining us online. Welcome. I think there are some announcements to share this morning.
And I'm Rosemary, and welcome. I don't have any specific announcements unless somebody raises their hand and says they want to emphasize something. I would encourage you to look at the insert, which has several of the things that are coming up over the next month or so. I would also put a plug in for, we stream our service every Sunday. And that has been done disproportionately by one person in the church. We do have several others who have volunteered to do it, to step in, but it would be great if anybody is feeling interested in doing that on an occasional basis on some schedule. It would just be running the video camera so that we can continue to stream this at home. So if you are interested, you can look for Chris Lindquist after the service. Thank you.
Hey everyone, I'm Todd. I just wanted to say that we do have coffee hour after church, and it's right through here, and hope to see you there. And since I'm here, I will draw your attention to the insert in your order of service, which refers to a couple of really fun things coming up. The jack-o'-lantern competition and the Old Town photo calendar competition, both of which are a lot of fun and real community events. Thanks.
Thanks to both of you for those announcements. As we enter a time of reflection, just a reminder that we're in the midst of a series of reflecting on three things: faith, hope, and love. This is the second Sunday of those reflections, so this morning we reflect on hope, and I invite you to spend a few minutes thinking about those times where you have shared food and received hope as a result. Maybe you had a bad week and had lunch or dinner with friends and that bad week melted away. Maybe you were in the hospital, in the waiting room or in a hospital room itself, and someone brought you food that was not hospital food. And that brought a little hope into your life. Maybe you celebrated a birthday with a youngster or celebrated a wedding. And in that moment of sharing food together or the toast, you experienced hope of new things to come. So as we reflect together, I invite you to reflect on those moments where you have experienced hope sharing food together. begin by singing together number 349 in your gray hymnal, We Gather Together. You will find our covenant in your bulletin, and let's join our voices together. In the love of truth and the Spirit of Jesus, we unite for the worship of God and the service of all. Be seated. First reading comes from the poet Mary Oliver, Wild Geese.
You do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Tell me about despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the sun and the clear pebbles of the rain are moving across the landscapes, over the prairies and the deep trees, the mountains and the rivers. Meanwhile, the wild geese, high in the clean blue air, are heading home again. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over, announcing your place in the family of things.
Now we have responsive reading, which is 515 in your gray hymnal. I get the non-italic parts, and you guys get the italic parts. So, for the sun and the dawn, which we did not create.
For the moon and the evening, which we did not make.
For food which we plant but cannot grow.
For friends and loved ones we have not earned and cannot buy.
For this gathered company, which welcomes us as we are from wherever we have come.
For all our free churches that keep us human and encourage us in our quest for beauty, truth, and love.
For all things which come to us as gifts of being from sources beyond ourselves.
gifts of life and love and friendship. We lift up our hearts in thanks this day.
Will you join with me in a spirit of prayer? For food which we plant but cannot grow, for friends and loved ones we have not earned and cannot buy. For all things which come to us as gifts of being from sources beyond ourselves, gifts of life and love and friendship, we lift up our hearts in thanks this day. Spirit of love and light that pierces all things. Some of us come in thanksgiving with full hearts and joy, and some arrive with heavy hearts and questions. And we know that all of these things are welcome in this place, that you are strong enough to carry the tensions of these things. And as we enter into this time together, we remember those people impacted, who are continuing to be impacted by the hurricane. We lift up those in the Ukraine and those impacted by war around this world. We lift up those who are sick and ailing in this community, the communities that surround it, friends and family who are extensions of it. And we recognize that sometimes there are those things deep down in our hearts for which we do not have words yet. And so we lift this prayer together. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. Now, friends, it is time for you to give back free gifts for a free church. thanks for gifts freely given. Thank you.
Now when Jesus heard this, he withdrew from there in a boat to a lonely place apart. But when the crowds heard it, they followed him on foot from the towns. As he went ashore, he saw a great throng, and he had compassion for them and healed their sick. When it was evening, the disciples came to him and said, "This is a lonely place, and the day is now over. Send the crowds away to go into the villages and buy food for themselves." Jesus said, "They need not go away. You give them something to eat." They said to him, "We have only 5 loaves here and 2 fish." And he said, "Bring them here to me." Then he ordered the crowds to sit down on the grass, and taking the 5 loaves and the 2 fish, he looked up to heaven and blessed and broke and gave the loaves to the disciples, and the disciples gave them to the crowds. And they all ate and were satisfied. And they took up 12 baskets full of the broken pieces left over, and those who ate were about 5,000 men, besides women and children.
Thank you. Our second hymn this morning is "There's a Wideness in Your Mercy," number 213 in the grade. I said last week I only have 3 weeks to figure out the choreography. We're doing all right, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Although we're throwing communion in this week, so we'll see how the choreography goes for that. This morning is the second, as I mentioned earlier, the second in a series of 3 sermons on faith, hope, and love. And so today we pause to reflect on hope using the communion table as our lens. And in fact, this is World Communion Sunday. So we are joined by a much larger communion, if you will, around this table. The story from Matthew says, they ate and they were satisfied. The feeding of the 5,000, which offers some really powerful imagery, is found in more than one of the gospel narratives. Being highlighted by more than one author and told in different ways, it begs the question, is there a deeper, more intimate narrative at work here? And today, with the story from Matthew in mind, we might recognize that while there's only one Last Supper, which we remember at this table later, there are, in fact, throughout the Bible, the Hebrew Bible and the New Testament, many, many communion stories. Stories of transformation, realization, reconciliation, redemption, and indeed hope that all revolve around sharing food. In fact, let's get one thing straight. With the exception of those 40 days that Jesus spent in the wilderness, Jesus and his disciples ate a lot of food in the gospel narratives. Think about it. So many of the crux or pinnacle moments happen when people are gathered together for food. Jesus with the disciples, Jesus with Mary and Martha, Jesus with Zacchaeus. For those of you who grew up in church camp, please don't start singing the song or I'll never get it out of my head. Jesus with Pharisees, Jesus with sinners and tax collectors, the feeding of the 5,000 not counting women and children, Matthew reminds us in this passage. The Last Supper, the road to Emmaus, stories of Jesus appearing after his death while the disciples are huddled around a fire cooking fish, time and again, the most important moments described about this rabbi's life happen while sharing food, sometimes with friends, oftentimes with strangers. The point is that the people around this man are being nourished, constantly in some way being nourished. So if we were to ask ourselves the following question, is the Bible referring to spiritual food or physical food? The answer would be yes. Andover Newton, the seminary I serve as associate dean, holds an event every Thursday evening when classes are in session that we call the Emmaus Gathering. Tara may have mentioned it to you when she was here. It begins with a shared meal and Bible study, and it ends with worship and communion. So the evening is bookended by shared meals, one informal, one ritual. And one of the questions we ask ourselves each week is, which of these two meals is more powerful, transformative, hope-filled? One is informal, it has laughter and stories and conversation, but the tables are occupied by people committed to being in intentional community together. The other is a ritual, an observance. But both can be profound and transformational in their own ways. Food, food, food. Is anyone hungry yet? There's coffee all over in my ear. Why are scenes involving food so frequent in the Bible? It's considered a sacred text by many. Why is there so much eating? The prevalence of shared meals in any sacred text, whether put into ritual context or not, should call us to attention. What is so important about these shared meals? What overarching lessons can be learned? And to what do they point? It was at this table that Jesus' ingenious theology and way of teaching really took shape. Because eating is one of the most basic human acts, right? We require nourishment to survive. So Jesus connects something basic to physical and biological survival to something required for community survival and growth, uniting them, making them one and the same. And inherent to survival is hope. Hope that we can and will survive whatever storm together. Hope that we will go on living as a person and as a community. This table isn't set with forks and knives or spoons and napkins. It is set with, by, and for hope. Hope. By gathering around it as equals, we gather around it in the hope of what could be, what should be. It's about who's present at the table and how we're nourished by the community gathered around it. In all of our imperfection and all of our humanness and all of our doubt and all of our failings, none of us necessarily belong here. Not even the disciples belonged here. Think about it. At the Last Supper, there were 12 besides Jesus sitting around that table. One Judas would betray him, right? In just a few short hours after this meal, in fact. One Peter would deny Jesus, not once, not twice, but 3 times. One Thomas would doubt Jesus. And all of them, every single one of them, the stories tell us, would actually flee after Jesus' death in fear and confusion. Except the women. I heard that this might happen.
Yeah.
When Rosemary heard I was a firefighter, she said, you might perk up if you hear. Remember the reading from Mary Oliver. You do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. All of this is a reminder that this table isn't just significant because of who the host was, but is also significant because of who was invited to sit at it. People who this person loved very much, but people who were still imperfect. Jesus takes something so simple, something that many of us who are privileged to do daily, multiple times throughout the day, and by opening it up, gives us hope that we can do better, be better, share with others, find wholeness for ourselves and community. At the shared meal around this table, Jesus says, each time you do this, do it remembering me. When we hear these words, we should ask ourselves, what is the this to which Jesus refers when he says, do this in remembrance of me? Did he mean make this into a ritual and practice it on the first Sunday of every month, but don't think about it much otherwise? Or did he mean every single time you gather with friends you love and break bread and share joy and be vulnerable and show hospitality and listen deeply and give thanks, do that. Do that as a microcosm of the hope that this can be a better world. You see, this table, especially on this Communion Sunday, this World Communion Sunday, this table extends far beyond its wooden corners. It extends into homes, to breakfast tables, into restaurants, to the back patios, and into hospital cafeterias, and around firehouse break rooms, and into 24-hour diners and around campfires. This table becomes the hyperbolic representation of the feeding of the 5,000. We just need to remember those words. Do this in remembrance of me. And then it's not just food that nourishes, but the spirit of hope is acknowledged. And you can make that space and time and conversation something more, something deeper. And then it's not just laughter, it's joy. They're not just stories, they're testimonies. It's not just welcome, it's radical hospitality. And then it's not just breakfast or lunch or dinner, it's something more sustaining for mind, body, and soul. Meals can be a time of reconciliation. How many of my friends shared with their family over a dinner that they were coming out? And how many were met with love and grace in that moment? Shared meals around these tables are opportunities for forgiveness and grace and mercy and love and hope. If we only recognize that hope can happen anywhere we allow it to happen. Make space for it to happen. Invoke hope's invitation, not demand, but invitation to do this in remembrance of something bigger than any one of us can do alone. If you approach every meal that you share with friends, family, loved ones, strangers, colleagues, if you approach every table where food and stories are shared with love, your life will be transformed. It will transform your life, and it will deepen your relationship with those with whom you share that bounty. In that space, in this space, as Mary Oliver writes, whoever you are. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, no matter how lonely the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over, announcing your place in the family of things. May it be so. You will find the service of communion on the blue sheet in your hymnal. Do we say this call to worship together? I say it. Choreography. We're figuring it out. Friends, let us come together to celebrate the story of Jesus, to connect to that story and to each other through the sharing of bread and wine. These simple things have been, through the ages, a sign of unity, a source of strength, and a witness to the power of sacrificial love. Let us now join together in silence for our private prayers of confession. Now let us join in the responsive prayer, Psalm 36. Your steadfast love, O God, extends to the heavens, your faithfulness to the clouds.
Your righteousness is like mighty mountains. Your judgments are like a great deep. You save humans and animals alike, O God.
How precious is your steadfast love, O God. All people may take refuge in the shadow of your wings.
They feast on the abundance of your house, and you give them drink from the river of your delights.
For with you is the fountain of life. In your light we see light.
O continue your steadfast love to those who know you, and your salvation to the upright of heart.
Do not let the foot of the arrogant tread on me,
or the hand of the wicked drive me away.
Then came the day of unleavened bread, on which the Passover lamb had to be sacrificed. So Jesus sent Peter and John, saying, "Go prepare the Passover meal for us that we may eat it." They asked him, "Where do you want us to make preparations for it?" "Listen," he said to them, "when you have entered the city, a man carrying a jar of water will meet you. Follow him into the house he enters and say to the owner of the house, 'The teacher asks you, where is the guest room, where I may eat Passover with my disciples?' He will show you a large room upstairs, already furnished. So make preparations for us there." So they went and found everything as he had told them, and they prepared the Passover meal. When the hour came, he took his place at the table, and the apostles with him. He said to them, "I have eagerly desired to eat this Passover with you before I suffer, for I tell you, I will not eat it again until it is fulfilled." Then he took a cup, and after giving thanks, he said, "Take this and divide it among yourselves, for I tell you that from now on I will not drink from the fruit of the vine until the kingdom of God comes." Then he took a loaf of bread, and when he had given thanks, he broke it and gave it to them, saying, "This is my body, which is given for you. Do this in remembrance of me." Friends, eat this bread in remembrance of Jesus. He did the same with the cup after saying, "This cup is poured out for you. This is the new covenant in my blood." The deacons will serve this, and on the outside is wine, and on the inside is juice. Please wait to take the wine until all are served. Please drink in remembrance of Jesus and the hope that this table represents. Our final hymn is "Now the Green Blade Riseth," number 266 in your grade hymnal. Please rise. for you as you exit these doors or go into fellowship hour is that in this time together you have experienced a foretaste of hope. And that you take that hope with you wherever you go and spread it with abandon. Go in peace.